Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
Oh, I hit my desk. We're doing this one remote again because by the time you're listening to this, Justin will be out of town. You'll be up in Canada land.
I'll be deep in America's hat.
You'll be forehead deep in America's hat.
Exactly. So this one, we're recording early, so tune in next week as well to hear a little bit more on that. But for this week, we talk a lot about a couple different things. I asked Gavin the interesting question of what is the most interesting car currently on sale to him? And
we also go through a Bring a Trailer deep dive because that's something that we've done before and a couple of people said that we should keep doing. So figured now is a better time than ever to do that. So as we're recording this, we actually just did a double header. Recording last week's podcast and now recording this week's podcast. So let's just dive right into it, shall we?
We shall. Well, hello again.
Oh, hi.
Hi. You're joining us while I'm currently off going crazy in Canada at the moment. I'll be back next week to fill in some updates on that. But for this podcast, we have a few other things going. So, I wanted to start off with a question for Gavin.
Yes, sir.
Out of all the new cars currently available right now, what one is the most intriguing to you? Not necessarily the one that you'd go buy. It may be the same one, but what new car current offering is the most interesting to you?
Well, I feel kind of jaded, to be honest. And I think a lot of us as car enthusiasts are feeling pretty jaded.
Yes.
Because we're either, things are like, here's the last internal combustion or here's the last V8 manual thing. Or, there's been some last ofs over the last 18 months or so. The most interesting new car? I mean, I like the Maverick. And I do think that's interesting. And the trucklet part of the market, I find more interesting, frankly, because it's actually the amount of truck that people actually need. Which
completely agreed.
Which kind of makes sense with the 2-year plus wait list for a fucking Maverick.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know what the most interesting new car. It would have to be, maybe a hybrid of some sort. I think the Ioniq 5N, that actually, it did a run up Goodwood this past week. It did it kind of sideways, which is really, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're about to tell me what the most interesting, and actually I might challenge you, and I might call bullshit, but proceed.
So I think there's a few different things because obviously interesting is a broad topic. It can mean a lot of different things. It can mean rethinking the envelope, sometimes poorly, like the Cybertruck.
Cyberfuck.
Yes, exactly. It can mean even the drivetrain, like you mentioned. So a couple of the ones I thought of was also the Ioniq 5N because it's the first small EV sporty-ish car. We'll have to see how it goes.
Sure.
That may be relatively affordable to the average layman. At least compared to the rest of the EVs. Another one that I thought of was the Koenigsegg Gemera.
Yeah, that's fucking it. I'd say Koenigsegg Gemera or the CC850.
Yes. I think that obviously I kind of view Koenigsegg at this point as they are no doubt, just from price alone, the top of the market. However, the hope is that a lot of the stuff they create will eventually end up being technologies that 20 years from now will be somewhat available to the rest of us, such as ditching camshafts for basically what I would call valve injectors to be able to infinitely change timing. And also their light speed transmission technology with just instantaneous perfect shifts.
Well, they just had a release of the thing that was in the Gemera. It was, I just looked on Facebook for Koenigsegg and it's actually not popping up. Mm-hmm. But there is an electric motor that weighs less than 80 pounds and it makes stupid power.
Yep. I've heard teasers of that one too, which is another great one. Like I think the first time I saw mention of that was some guy saying somebody should Miata swap with this, and I was like, actually,
Road and Track posted this thing. Actually, oh fuck, this is published in January of last year, but 335 horsepower and 443 foot-pounds of torque, and it weighs 63 pounds.
I love it. I love everything about that. The efficiency is just off the charts and turning on my efficiency brain like crazy.
Yeah.
Efficiency boner right now with that. Like the power
Easy
to
there.
weight.
Easy.
Know,
We're
right?
not a family-friendly show, but easy.
I know. No, the power to weight of that drivetrain is just astonishing. I love it.
Yeah.
So like there's that. I completely agree on the Maverick too. Not just like
Well, so there's Maverick, there's Santa Cruz that have been around for a few years now. Toyota is bringing something stateside. Oh fuck, what is it called? It's not the Scout. I'm just looking at Toyota tiny truck. This makes for great radio, by the way.
Toyota small truck. Yeah, the Stout.
The Stout, yes,
Which
it's supposed to be $20,000 allegedly.
yeah, it looks very similar to like in ethos to like the Maverick.
Yeah, it's the same market, it's the same mindset.
So that's good. Another one that I think is interesting. It's not nearly as interesting as the other ones, but I think it's more interesting from a average person's perspective. Is something like the Mazda CX-90,
Yeah,
where it's
like an SUV that's actually good to drive and has an inline six.
Yeah, inline six turbo. That's also a plug-in hybrid, so you could still do like 20, 30 miles around town errands, all electric. Like it's pretty intriguing to see like the like the weird melding of multiple worlds coming together in this.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's kind of how I see the CX-90s. It's like EV meets slightly sporty meets crossover meets etc. Luxury, I guess, because that's just kind of the direction Mazda's been going for the last few years.
Yeah.
So things like that.
Did you have like a definitive, like most interesting?
I think the one I would choose out of the most interesting ones is probably the Chimera, because I look at the amount of things in there, and it's a 4-seater, and it's this crazy high revving 3-cylinder, or at least for what it is, high revving for what it is.
What is the red line on it?
I think it was. Let's see if I can find it in this right.
It's like
here.
9K.
It was up there, yeah. I mean, not just high revving, but high powered too.
Yeah, it's 600 horsepower.
Yeah, I know it's fantastic, but like, I think that is the most interesting to me because I like, again, the melding of those two worlds that car does so well. And
it's a great looking 4-seater.
It is, and like the fact that yes, it still has two doors, but they're two massive doors that open in Koenigsegg's traditional style with their dual dihedral, whatever the fuck mechanisms.
Right.
But either way, allowing still easy access to the rear, whereas usually if you have a 2-seater, even if it has rear seats, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Seriously, you're going to need it. You're going to need to lose a few pounds, and hopefully it's not after Thanksgiving or Christmas to fit in the back seat. I think it would be the Koenigsegg. Because as we've both discussed at length, I don't think we're quite there enough for EVs to be registered as interesting, because we're in this lull where yes, EVs exist, such as like Teslas.
Well, they're
have
all
existed
based
for a
on the same
decade.
kind of platform of, the skateboard platform. All the weight is down low. Everything is torquey. Everything is apparently a drag race monster. I don't find that at all interesting, really.
Yeah.
Which like that, and that kind of what takes away from the Ioniq 5N for me. Because like, okay, you're taking the same kind of package that we've had in EVs for a few years now, and you are making it like more of like kind of like a rally car, which I do like. I think that's cool. But I don't think that's particularly interesting. I will submit to you also honorable mentions for interesting cars. The CC850, also from Koenigsegg.
Yep.
By having a transmission that is technically an automatic, but is also fully switchable to a manual that you can stall. You can clutch kick it. And it goes from a 9-speed auto to a 6-speed manual through a gate. So you basically put the shifter in like auto for when you want auto, or you can row through the gated 6-speed, which I think is really cool.
And I'm surprised it's taken this long for somebody to do that, because at least in my opinion, in theory, it shouldn't have been that difficult with how many dual clutches are kicking around.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah.
It's just, I think it's more a market demand than anything. Like, there's just not that much market demand for somebody to do that.
How about you go find Christian and ask him some hard-hitting questions and see what he says?
I know, right?
Why has it taken so long? I think...
I was going to say, I'm sure I'd get a fantastically detailed answer.
I'd love to see it too.
I know.
I also would love to submit to you I'm spacing on his name right now. Gordon Murray, the GMA cars with the T50 and the T33. I actually like the T33 more stylistically, and also provides, I don't know, probably 8/10 the same car.
Yeah.
But a true return to form of what the McLaren F1 was in ethos. The actual, we talk about Singer and Singerizing cars and how the crazy attention to detail it is with the builds on those, and how even the control arms are artful, and you have the exposed shift linkage, and the gauges are actual jewelry that you love to look at, right? But there is another level of attention to detail when it comes to the actual design and the engineering of the GMA cars, having basically no compromises. So I'll also submit those to you.
No, I agree. And I wish, it's going to sound kind of weird. I wish that somebody would come through and do to the car industry what Apple has done to the phone industry, because Apple has many flaws, but
sure. Elon's trying to do that. Basically.
I know. Elon is attempting and failing at doing that. But where almost any Apple product you can buy, even the cheaper ones, cheaper in quotes, there's almost no cheap Apple product you can buy truly. They feel extremely well designed and stout, and sometimes they're locked behind little things, but every single product they make, even from the cheaper end of their spectrum, is just functionally beautiful.
Everything from the $100 stylus up to the $3,500 AR setup.
Yep.
To the crazy high end. Well, it's relative, but they're crazy high end tower setups.
Yeah, and so I look at all those things, and I look at the fact that, so at this point they've been around long enough that they do have an entry level, which is you can buy an iPhone SE for $250, $300 brand new, which, it's not powerful, it's not new, but it still has that same level of quality.
Right.
I want somebody to do that to the automotive world, where even if you're buying their cheaper end, and hopefully somebody like GMA maybe can get there eventually after they have enough time under their belt, to where you can buy something like a T33 that, it's a little out of date now, but it's still quality.
Or a baby T33 that takes the same form factor of, let's say, a Miata, or the form factor of Alpine A110. So still keep it mid-engine, but it's smaller, something in the sub $100,000 realm, but it still has the feel of the T33 or the T50, but isn't a 600 horsepower or some crazy 12,000 RPM revving engine. It maybe it revs to 7,000 or something.
Yeah,
but it has the same build quality. I mean, I would argue that Porsche does this, because when you come to the buttons and how short, if you're talking about tactility, right? How short the throw is on the buttons, when you're going through HVAC or whatever, or switching your drive mode on the steering wheel.
Yeah,
it's going to be the same with a $60,000 or $70,000 Boxster as it would be on a $200,000 GT3.
Yeah, and I think I would agree that Porsche is probably among the closest to doing this, because I think that even their cheaper stuff, even if you are going with a Boxster, it still feels decently quality. And I think one of the difficulties with doing what my dream would be is that a phone, although extraordinarily complex, is small from a material perspective. So my iPhone 12 Pro is the titanium exoskeleton with the stainless steel. It's the nicer body, but it's still not that many of those materials at the end of the day. It's a small amount of them. And so that's how they can turn out millions of them, because they can do, like, let's say 4,000 iPhones from the same amount of like aluminum or titanium that it would take to build a car.
Right.
So the difficulty is, in cars, sometimes we end up with these odd, jaded experiences. So like, okay, let's say the driving experience is fantastic. It looks good, but then it has some Lotus level cheap, shitty interior. Sometimes it's not a big deal. Like, again, in the Lotus, it's meant to be lightweight. It's not a huge deal. But also at other times, it's like you get in there and you're like, that door pull like flexed. It didn't feel good to operate. Or those window switches feel like they're just going to fall apart.
Well, and you are kind of picking on Lotus, and the only low tie that you and I have really experienced have been Elise.
Yes.
We haven't driven the new Emira. I
No.
sure would like to.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a real perfect meld of, everything we've come to know and love about, Lotus being, simplify and add lightness, like everyone quotes, but also having that nicer interior feel that comes from something like a Boxster Cayman.
Yeah, and I mainly brought up the Elise specifically because I knew that was a good example of.
Oh, yeah, that's a poster child of like, you're sacrificing a lot for the feel and like the user experience of, tying corners together, whether it is in a canyon road or on a racetrack, or if you just want to feel more raw and visceral and a part of the experience.
Exactly, and especially because at that time, Lotus had to make a lot of sacrifices. Like lots of bits of that interior are not Lotus; they are sourced from other things. And
sure, yeah, and the instrument cluster is like kind of cheap looking, and you get an actual like shelf, like a scaffolding shelf.
Exactly,
you don't get a glove box really.
And so it's a lot of it is because cars are so much more material intensive and so much more expensive in general across the board to ship, manufacture, source materials for, design, all of it. They're totally different industries. But it's just kind of a wishful thinking. Like, if there was some way for somebody to do at like Apple's scale, where it's something that so many people can have because they just churn them out like crazy and keep the quality that Apple does. In fact, if you think about how little quality problems Apple has for how large, monstrous of a company they are, it is beyond shocking. Whereas, I don't know if automotive manufacturers can ever get to that level, just because there are so many other variations on and problems that could possibly go wrong.
Yeah, like supply chain shit.
Yeah, supply chain shit and like.
Well, and also the tech world, and part of the real reason why supply chain issues have been such a common thing in the automotive world for the past 3 years since COVID has been a thing, is because tech companies have so much more capital that they can just throw at buying up the chips, but for buying up the silicone, that like they've just outbid car companies straight up.
And car companies lasted for so long on outdated silicone that was just being produced because like the producer didn't have any extra expense in producing because that chip has been made for 20 plus years, but was just kind of taking orders. Once they needed more floor space to make more advanced stuff, they kind of just said, yeah, we don't really want to produce your beyond outdated shitty infotainment chip anymore. So you got to move to something newer. Oh yeah. And by the way, that newer thing has a 2-year wait.
Oh, so there's other anecdotal thing I heard on Smoking Tire podcast, because I love quoting Matt Farah. He had, it wasn't an over-the-air update. It was like a more core, like general software update for his Mach-E, which is a relatively new car. It's like a couple of years old.
Yeah.
He had to do, it was like a multi-gigabyte like update through OBD. So it was like a 48-hour like download and update, or maybe it's longer than that. Yeah, it was insane.
OBD is not meant to be massively data transparent.
No, it is not.
So fun fact for those of you that don't know, a lot of those connectors, like OBD, are the speed of like USB 1.0. So it's like 2 megabytes per second.
Yeah. No, I think that's what it is. It was a fucking huge endeavor. And it took days.
That's painful. I just, oh my God. How the fuck did we not think of a
Well,
better
woe is me,
solution?
Matt Farah. He has a big motor swapped Porsche Boxster Spider and a Ferrari 328 that he gets to drive as his daily. And oh, by the way, his wife has 2 cars. She has a Delica and a POW.
Yeah.
His Countach, oh my God, he's getting the full engine swap, or not swap, but engine service for the.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also an engine out thing. I think his suspension, his unfucking of the suspension was like 30 grand plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, and like I know a lot of people in those scenarios will go, "Oh, woe is me, you got other stuff to drive." It's like, well, yeah, that's not the point though. The point is that like it's not affecting Matt Farah because he has other stuff to drive. But
and he also has press cars that he can pull from and all that shit.
But let's put it in a regular person perspective. Like it's very feasible that a Mach-E could be somebody's only car, and
right.
a 40-hour update is not okay. Like, I think that's where a lot of lines get crossed, come to think of it. As a side note, is like, yes, when, let's say, Matt Farah comes out and talks about this ridiculous update that it inconvenienced him, he had to deal with, I think it's sometimes hard from, like, his perspective. Or
well, and he didn't come from a place of, like, oh, my God, this sucks. Like, what am I going to do? He was just saying, like, this is a part of the ownership of, what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to put it. I think a lot of people get confused with that messaging, thinking that he's just complaining or portraying this as like, oh, woe is me, when in reality, he's more, it's up to somebody like him that has a voice to shout out bullshit like that.
It is, yeah, for sure.
Because who else is going to do it? Because like even Car and Driver on a long-term test might not be long-term enough to experience that.
Well, I mean, there was also the infamous article of the 40,000 mile update on their Alpha Quadrifoglio and how much that cost to keep that thing running.
Yeah, and point being, they can do that occasionally. Occasionally, they'll have long-termers that last that long, but they don't have that many in the grand scheme of things. So,
I mean, maybe not to. I mean, they always have long-termers. They always have 40,000 mile update cars. They're constantly running through that, but it's not like they have a fleet of like, a dozen or 2 dozen cars where they're doing that. They're doing like maybe 3 or 4 at a time. I would suspect. I haven't done that much digging. I've been a Car and Driver subscriber for a long time, but I haven't been reading that much recently.
No, I'm sure it's probably in the at most
below a dozen. It's
like,
below
exactly.
a dozen for sure.
Exactly. And so, like, it's not like they have that same type of test going for every single car, because it would just be a nightmare. And so it's up to, like, people like Matt or other influencers to use their voice to be like, hey, Ford, knock, 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 this is a problem. What the fuck? This is retarded. Sorry, this is dumb. This shouldn't be hardlining in this manner. We have Wi-Fi for a reason, and it is infinitely faster than
we have Ethernet. Like, come on.
Yeah, hardline this shit in there any other way. A USB port, like you did to update your car with the infotainment. Like, those things are more integrated into the car systems than ever before. It's like there has to be another way. There has to be.
Yeah,
that's funny. Anyways, but like kind of circling back to the discussion at hand. Yeah, I think that. I don't know if that will ever happen at the consumer level, to get something the quality of Apple at the price that somewhat reasonably an average person can afford it in car form. Mm-hmm. But it's cool to have wishful thinking, I guess.
I guess so. On that note, on the note of wishful thinking, we thought about bringing back some discussions about Bring a Trailer. And I actually pulled a few up already. The first one is actually going to stem from something that you very briefly mentioned on our last podcast, and also relating to the Grand Tour. There is a current bid with 36 minutes left on the clock of 1949 Crosley Hotshot.
Oh, boy.
It's in this beautiful, no, I'm not going to say beautiful. It's in a very cute and endearing yellow. It's a yellow on red interior, so it's very ketchup and mustard.
Oh, yeah.
For $10,000, you can get this. It's just charming. A 44cc inline 4, 11cc per cylinder.
So not cc, it's cubic inch.
Oh, I'm sorry, cubic inch.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah, that is a big difference.
44cc is a weed eater motor.
It is. Well, I mean, this isn't that far. Let's be honest.
I know. 26.5 horsepower.
Yeah, 12-inch steel wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes though. So, and a rear-mounted tire carrier because, with those kind of tires, you're going to want a spare most likely.
Yes.
3-speed little manual there. It's a cute little car. I don't know if I would prefer it over. I don't know. I mean, if you say won the Powerball and wanted like some fuck around daily that just to like put a smile on people's faces, like what you and I have talked about with the Reliant Robin.
Yeah.
I think that if you wanted a second one, if you wanted like a second fuck around daily to put a smile on people's faces, but you wanted an open air experience, I think this would check that box quite nicely.
I think so too. I'm sending you one right now, which is I found this beautiful spec 1963 190 SL that's got it's cream on blue. This
is a pre-Pagoda SL, so this is still during like the Gullwing era design, but being a convertible, it's not going to have gull wings. That is a lovely spec in like the cloth floor mats.
Yeah, I love the shade of blue that it was chosen for this. It's a pleasing shade.
Yeah, it's not. The seats are a little loud.
Yeah,
but like the blue theme though carries like pretty well because you have like a navy blue cloth roof. You have navy blue like on the wheels that are also cream. You have, a blue dash, blue seats. You have a blue transmission tunnel and drive shaft tunnel. But, like, it's not... Like
the framing of, like, the dashboard with, like, the blue leather going over it and under it, but the whole center of the dashboard is body-colored. I think that's really lovely. Mm-hmm. And on the white walls, too. It just looks totally proper. Like, this is just such a lovely little roadster. And, I mean, in a weird way, I haven't ever driven a Mercedes of this vintage, like this old. I have ridden in one that was a late 70s, so it just barely had a little bit of the magic that these allegedly have. Sure. However, I'm curious where this will end up. It's currently bid at to $82,000.
Which in today's collector car market is not bad. It has 4 days left, so who knows? It could double. I mean, this is quite lovely. I mean, $82,000 on this or a 911 SC so SC is the short for Super Carrera. They built those between the late 70s and early 80s. I think I would, for the same money, I think I'd actually rather have this.
This would be so lovely to just cruise around in.
Because I hear like SL Gullwings are actually like really great to drive, like even in today's context.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, that most anything that's from around that SL era and, even the Pagoda era, since they're very similar, just with different body language, they have this just naturally tight mechanical feel to them. And it's one of those things that, yet again, is just difficult to find these days because everything's not nearly as mechanical as it used to be. I also love, I was just looking at the gauges on this thing. I love the gauges. They look almost akin to like watch type of attention to detail.
Well, yeah, and looking at like the tack, like it does kind of remind me of like 356 era, which makes sense because this is around the same time. But I mean, like kind of like field watch for those that know watches, like almost Flieger, which Flieger is actually a term for fighter pilot watches. But either like field watch or Flieger watch, like kind of like big, bold black dials with contrasting white indexes on them. I was looking for the photo. There was a dial that was on the glove box, which would be normally reserved for something like a stopwatch. And I'm looking for the photo of that. And I'm not seeing a really close photo, which is funny because there's. Oh wait,
it's a clock.
Is it would have to be a clock. Oh, so these are VDO gauges, which makes sense. Yeah, there's not like a clear photo of it, but it is a clock. The photo was taken at like 9:10. Apparently.
Cool. So I found some photos of it, especially one with like the back of the.
There it is. Found it.
Back of the glove box door. It looks like it's a fully mechanical, not electrical, and it looks like it has this knurling on the back of it, so you can wind it.
Oh yeah,
that's
you would have to.
I love that. That's pretty cool.
Oh, also the blue padding with like the cream like wall and like that's cool. Well, speaking of things that are not tight or mechanical, I found a 1275cc powered 1967 Morris Minor 1000.
Oh boy.
It is. It's got some red and black going on, which is, I think, a little questionable.
Okay, let me pull this up. Ooh, yeah, that's
from an era gone by.
you pinstriped the wrong things, my guy.
Yeah.
This is it basically just outlined about half of the body lines with this black striping, and the other half is just kind of done haphazardly.
Yeah. I'm sure it drives somewhat similar, albeit a bit heavier and porkier than the Black Mini that we drove before. I don't have a whole lot else to say about this. So we can bring this one into the new millennium with the 2008 Ferrari F430 Challenge race car.
Okay. Yeah.
I should probably send you the link.
Gotcha. F430 Challenge. That's, yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually scrolled past this one, and I meant to click on it.
Two wings.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the full race car treatment, digital dash, carbon paddles, full race car wheel with a pit speed button, radio, scroll through the digital gauge cluster, I would imagine. 145 grand for this, which is, I would imagine, a decent buy.
For a full-blown kitted race car, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For something that you'd probably take to a track and have to do minimal changes at most to meet whatever spec you're running.
Yeah, you just have to check your tire pressures and probably do a fluid like a brake fluid swap. Make sure your tires are up to spec, but that's kind of it. They've got a camera in here too. It's got like a GoPro mount, but it is an Epic HD 1080. Apparently, it looks like a kind of like a Bullet, but like wrapped in carbon fiber.
Yeah, and it's got air jacks too, so it's proper. Just pump it up. It can do full pit shit. No, that's sweet. I like it. Well, funny enough, I was going to send you a Ferrari that I thought was rather intriguing. A lovely 550 Maranello with the 6-speed.
Yes, sir. It's crazy. The first photo, it actually kind of looks like a screen grab from like something like I was about to say GTA, but no. Why am I spacing on it? The PlayStation game.
Oh, Gran Turismo.
Looks like Gran Turismo. Sorry, I don't know why I spaced on that. It's kind of an iconic game, but with how the shade of gray with the really soft lighting, the windshield isn't polarized at all. So you have the same reflection on the hood and windshield. I don't know. To me, it just looked like kind of like a racing game photo.
Well, it does.
This is a dark gray over a lighter gray interior. Not terribly unlike the one that Hoovie had.
Yeah. And which, ironically, if I remember correctly from that episode, was actually a pretty decent car.
It was the best car that they had.
Yeah. And looking at it, I do like, aesthetically for some reason, the standard layout front engine Ferraris quite often more than the mid-engine ones. I'm not sure why. It's a slight preference. I do like both. But I really like Ferrari front engine designs. I think they do it so well.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, you tend, what you like to get out of driving is more of like a grand touring type of feel. And so this lines right up with that, but this also still has, the gated 6-speed, which, as we all know, is fucking-lightful.
Oh, yeah.
And with the 5.5-liter quad cam V12.
Oh, yeah. 7,600 RPM red line. And, yeah, I mean...
49,000 miles. So, it's been driven.
That's the thing. That's actually what intrigues me most is the fact it's been driven enough that I know it's probably a decent car.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird situations where it's obviously not as valuable. However, that's perfect because having that many miles on a car like this means that it's been driven enough that most bugs have probably been worked out.
I love also in these photos, the owner, clearly it's the owner of the car, pointing their finger at blemishes and scratches and rock chips on the windshield.
Oh, yep.
You keep going through. It's there's one here and here and here.
That's funny. I mean, I just had a vision of like the little pointer hands you can buy on the stick.
Oh my God, that's what I should get that for the next time I get a Bring a Trailer shoot.
You
just
should
bring that.
That would be hilarious.
That'd be great. I'm doing
oh my
that
God.
for sure.
No, I just look at something like this and think like, man, if I had some moderate level of fuck you money, this would be a cool thing to daily.
So current bid is at $100,000. We know it's not going to stay there. It ends in 5 days. These have what? These have been in like the 150,000 range, like 150 to 170 ish.
I will
think.
verify that. Give me 5 seconds. I'm pulling it up on Bring a Trailer. The last results. So, yeah, they've been.
They're not breaking 200.
They've started to.
Really?
There's 7 dots since January of 21 in the 200 range. Most seem to be around 180, 160 to 180.
Okay.
So yeah, just barely. They're creeping up, but not as fast as some other things. Mm-hmm. So no, I do think that would be fantastic.
I mean, what would you rather have for $180,000?
This, or do you have another option, or do you want me to think of another one?
No, I'd like you to think of one. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, for 180 grand, and if I had to choose just one car, there might be some like older Astons that I might want more.
Really? When you say
Like-
older, like you're talking DB5s? Because I
Yeah.
think those are more.
They probably are. Hang on, let me look. Boop, DV5, and yes, they are. Yeah, they're definitely more.
Are they like 400?
6?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're up there. Let me try one more.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a pretty great option.
For 180K, and given the capabilities of this car and the things it represents, I don't know on the spot that much I'd rather have for that, even though I know options exist. I'm just struggling to think of them because I actually
Sure.
think that this car
This is pretty
for
great.
that is pretty good. I was just
I'd
looking
still
at.
probably try to find a 997 GT3.
Oh, totally understandable. That from the sporty perspective, if that's what you're looking for, is a very good buy
Yeah.
for that type of stuff. Like having both of us having driven a 997 GT3 for a small amount of time. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. I would love that. Let's see. There was another one I had. It has just disappeared though because I accidentally clicked out of it. Where'd it
I found a
go?
birth year car.
Oh, okay. What's that?
1993 Porsche 968 Coupe with the 6-speed. Here,
Gotcha.
Send it to you. It's black on black with these aftermarket wheels, kind of like a bronzy look. This is very clearly in the LA canyons. These photos were
yes.
taken.
Very clearly.
But that's like an early 90s vibe for sure,
Yeah.
like early mid 90s.
Let's see. There's that, and then I was actually just looking to see if I could find a birth year car as well. I ironically own one. It's my Audi, and thankfully I'm in better condition than the Audi. But
Yeah, you'd be in a sad state if the opposite were true.
yes. As far as what's like current, I'm going to stick it and kind of make it interesting. I'm going to have to choose something from this list that's currently on bid on Bring a Trailer. So not finished, but like birth year car as out of what's currently available live. So we have a few different things. We have a Jeep Cherokee. We have a E320 BMW, or not BMW, Mercedes convertible, a Toyota pickup, Ferrari F355. Ooh, that actually could be pretty good. Despite the maintenance nightmare that would be, it would be lovely. Got a couple different Mercedes S6, a lot of Mercedes in my birth year at the moment on Bring a Trailer.
Mercedes was doing some interesting things back then.
Yeah. So I would probably, out of this list, that's what's currently there. I would probably end up choosing this 95 Land Rover Defender, like an actual Defender with the pickup. I'm gonna be honest. There's just not that much that's that interesting. There is a.
There's not a lot. There wasn't a lot of good coming out in the mid '90s. I mean,
There isn't-
Ferrari. Oh fuck! When was the good year for the 348? Was it '97? I think it was
I'm not
97.
sure, but I think so. I mean, there is an E36 M3, but like it's kind of in a boring spec with the gray leather and it's white. It doesn't. I'm not a big E36 fan to begin with, and then it's a really boring spec. So I'm like, not really.
But bro, Paul Walker had some.
Bro, Paul Walker. No, I don't buy cars because other people had them.
That's absolutely fair. I sent you something interesting though. That wasn't a birth year for either of us. Single family owned 1958 dual Ghia convertible. The current bid is at $201,000. Ends in 2 days. And I don't even know what a dual Ghia is. Really, I don't know what engine is in it. I don't know anything about it. I imagine it's from the similar family of like the Carmen Ghia.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was in Road and Track once in July of 1963. Development of this Italo-American luxury car. So, like, think Pagoda.
Yeah, true.
Or think like what that Mercedes that you sent me earlier was.
Yeah, and here you go. I'm going to send you that Land Rover Defender.
But it's like think Pagoda, but also think like Lincoln Continental, like JFK spec.
Yeah, like nice long body. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I sent you that Defender, and it's realistically.
It's a 130 pickup with a 300 TDI 5-speed. So
it's an import, and that's kind of what makes it most interesting to me. Is we didn't get that spec, and so
it's also left-hand drive.
I know. So it's probably from a standard Europe country, not Britain or Japan. I didn't actually read to see if it says where it was from. But like out of what was available on Bring a Trailer, because I just threw that on myself to make it interesting. This is, I think, the most intriguing one that's currently available out of my birth year. Mainly because it's like you could just do anything with it. Like, no, it's not fast, but like use it as a truck, use it to haul people around because there are multiple seats. You can climb anything off road. You can overland. It's just a great all around vehicle, and hopefully, being a diesel, it'll be a little bit less unreliable than traditional British problems. Yeah.
I just looked up 1993 for what was live listings right now. Okay. We have a 1993 Ford F-150 flare side 4x4.
Yep.
Which is kind of rad. We have BMW 316i Touring. It's in purple. You have that 968 that I talked about. There's also a 1993 Porsche 911 RS America, which is still during the 964 era, which is, as we all know, I love. There's like a limited Miata. It's black on red interior. 27,000 mile 1993 Corvette convertible 40th anniversary. So this is a C4 with, like a kind of a purpley paint.
Yeah.
Or a burgundy, rather. Burgundy on burgundy interior is a statement.
That is a late 80s, early 90s statement if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
This is burgundy on burgundy on burgundy because even the top is burgundy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. and the center caps of the wheels.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, do we... I guess, yeah, if it's got 27,000 miles, that's not like a plastic cover. That is the center cap.
Yes, that is most definitely the center cap.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. Oh, man. That's tragic. I wouldn't mind. The only C4 I would honestly ever want is the, what is it? The
ZR1?
ZR1, yes.
Yeah. It has to be.
Because that is a genuinely cool car.
The whole different engine. Jason Camisa did a whole thing on it and how amazing it was.
A big departure from normal Corvette.
Yeah, it's not at all the same.
Yeah, it is. It's a massive thing, and they do look cool. I think it's also the best looking C4. Most C4s don't look good.
No, they have awful interiors. They've been designed with a rectangle.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this. I mean, if you're going for 80s rad, this is like peak 80s rad. If you're looking at like, the radio, the AM FM with the HVAC, and there's also like a blank. It looks kind of like a blank card or something, but it has like little backlights in it that just aren't illuminated. And
It's
so
all the
like
warning
when,
symbols and stuff.
yeah, like ABS active or service ABS or service engine soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
and,
all the warning lights.
and all the amber coloring on all the displays too.
Yeah, if you're going for that, then God bless you. But that's
No, not for me.
no.
But yeah. Well, I think that's about it for our quick little deep
Yeah,
dive.
we've been rambling. So thank you all so much for listening. Shout out James K, because
as always.
as always. And I'm starting to sweat in my apartment because it's now 97 degrees outside. It's before noon, and I don't have air conditioning. So pray for me.
Pray for Gavin.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, until next time, I've been Gavin,
And I've been Justin.
and this has been the Exhibition of Speed podcast. Goodbye.